Tired of spending $400 every April on color that's dead before Halloween? The nursery industry is built around plants you discard and repurchase every season. After reviewing university extension trial records and USDA zone performance documentation, I found what commercial gardening has been suppressing. Perennials that spread on their own, return every year, and multiply freely without you replacing them. Today I am giving you 11 of them. 11 fast-spreading perennials to plant this April that will still be expanding for free a decade from now. Plant 1, Phlox subulata candy stripe. The mistake buying generic creeping phlox and never shearing it after bloom. You plant generic phlox on a sunny slope. Year 1, decent bloom. Year 2, woody center, bloom thinning. Year 3, bare rings where the plants were. The generic species dies at the center without intervention and the tag never mentions it. NC State Extension documents candy stripe for vigorous dense mat formation, hardy zones 3 through 9, spreading 2 to 3 feet wide with pink and white striped flowers covering the foliage completely each spring. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Generic Phlox subulata guarantees a replacement sale within 3 seasons because the woody center failure is inevitable without shearing information that never makes it onto the tag. Candy stripe sheared correctly stays vigorous indefinitely. The correct move, within 10 days of the last flower fading, cut the entire plant back by 1/3, not a deadhead. A real shearing. Zones 3 through 5, early June. Zones 7 through 9, late May. This redirects energy from seed production into lateral stem extension. The plant gets wider and denser every single season. The bottom line on candy stripe, 1 shearing per year is the only thing standing between you and a slope covered in color every April for the rest of your life. Candy stripe solves every sunny slope. But full sun solutions fail in dry shade under established trees. The next plant handles exactly that, with foliage so dramatic it reads as intentional from the street. Plant 2, Ajuga reptans, black scallop. The mistake, placing it in full sun and watering it like a border perennial. You buy it for the near black foliage and violet blue flower spikes. You plant it in full sun. By August, bleached foliage. By September, crown rot kills half the planting. You blamed the plant. The site killed it, in part to full shade with well-draining soil. Year 1, foliage deepens to dark burgundy with blue flower spikes in late spring. Year 2, runners fill the gaps. Year 3, you are dividing it into other bare shade areas at zero cost. NC State Extension documents black scallop for resistance to phytophthora and aerial blight, diseases that kill cheaper cultivars in humid zones 7 through 9. Hardy to zone 3. Spreading to 36 inches wide. Black scallop, not generic Ajuga reptans. The nursery tag will never tell you this. A plant that permanently covers difficult shade and divides freely does not earn prime display space in a business built on seasonal traffic. Black scallop requires asking for it by name. The correct move. Part to full shade, average well-draining soil, 12 to 18 inches apart. Light winter mulch in zones 3 through 5 the first season. The bottom line on black scallop, it turns the hardest spot in your garden into the most dramatic one. Black scallop handles worst-case shade beautifully, but hot slopes, gravel banks, and rocky edges where heat is relentless, need a completely different solution, and it does something in October that nothing else on this list can match. Plant 3, Sedum spurium dragon's blood. The mistake, amending the soil and watering weekly, which is exactly what kills this plant. You prepare a dry bank with compost and water weekly. Year 1, slow growth, crown rot developing. Year 2, minimal spread. Year 3, half gone. Mountain Crest Gardens documents dragon's blood surviving negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, zone 4 through zone 8. In lean, unimproved soil on a dry, sunny slope, year 1, green leaves with red margins. Year 2, deep red flowers. Year 3, solid coverage with zero maintenance. By October, the mat turns dark burgundy, a transformation the tag never mentions. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Nurseries push sedum toward container displays rather than positioning it as the permanent dry bank solution it actually is. One planting, no repeat visits. The correct move: full sun, lean unimproved soil, 12 inches apart. Do not amend. Water once after planting, once more in a prolonged dry spell in the first 6 weeks, then leave it alone. The bottom line on dragon's blood: the permanent solution for every hot, dry site, and it turns burgundy in October. Dragon's blood thrives in the leanest conditions but fails in deep, dry shade. Before the next plant, I want to say something directly. If you have planted year after year and felt like nothing delivers what the tag promised, that feeling is real. And it is not your fault. The commercial model rewards plants that photograph well in April, not plants that perform in your conditions 5 years from now. Feral Garden exists to close that gap. And if this documented knowledge is reaching you for the first time, subscribe right now, because what remains on this list is exactly what your garden has been missing. Plant 4, Epimedium ex rubrum, the solution to dry shade under established trees. The mistake: planting anything in that root zone that requires consistent moisture. Tree roots intercept moisture before ground level plants can access it. The Piedmont Master Gardeners and NC State Extension document Epimedium ex rubrum as specifically tolerant of dry shade, including beneath black walnut trees. RHS Award of Garden Merit, 15 inches tall, 24 inches wide. Rosy red spring flowers. Foliage emerges red flushed in spring, matures green, turns red again in fall. Hardy zones 4 through 8. Year 1, root establishment. Year 2, spread begins. Year 3, a weed suppressing carpet that requires one annual task: cutting old foliage in late winter before new growth emerges. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Epimedium looks modest in a 4-inch pot and takes 2 seasons to hit its stride. It cannot be sold at the impulse buy moment and gets minimal shelf space as a result. The correct move: part shade to full shade, average soil from dry to moist, 12 to 15 inches apart. Cut old foliage in late winter and leave everything else alone. The bottom line on Epimedium ex rubrum: the only perennial that reliably solves the dry shade under trees problem most gardeners have been fighting for years. Epimedium handles dry shade better than almost anything, but the opposite problem, a hot sunny path edge with foot traffic, needs a completely different plant. The next one was built for exactly that and releases a herbal scent every time it is stepped on. Plant 5, Thymus serpillum elfin, the plant for path edges, stepping stone gaps, and paved surfaces. The mistake: amending the soil and watering on a schedule. You prepare soil with compost and water weekly. Year 1, looks reasonable. Year 2, woody center, sparse growth. Year 3, a dead ring surrounded by living edges. NC State Extension documents elfin as optimal in sandy loam and rocky soils with good drainage. Amending works directly against its native preference. 1 to 2 inches tall, spreading 12 to 18 inches wide. Hardy zones 4 through 9. Lavender pink flowers in late spring. Tolerates moderate foot traffic. In zones 3 and 4, Thymus serpillum coccineus delivers zone 3 performance with deep magenta red flowers. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Once established, elfin needs no maintenance beyond a light shearing every other year. never needs dividing or feeding. It permanently eliminates the annual mulch budget along every path. One purchase, no return visits. The correct move. Lean well draining soil in full sun. Add coarse grit if your soil is clay. Space 6 inches apart. Do not fertilize. Water only through initial establishment. The bottom line on Elfin, it replaces annual mulching along every path with something fragrant, evergreen, and free after the first planting. Elfin solves sun-baked hard surfaces, but cool wooded edges and north-facing slopes where even Ajuga struggles have a native solution that most nurseries have never stocked and almost no gardening content covers. Plant 6. Asarum canadense, Canadian wild ginger, the native ground cover for cool, moist shade. The mistake: planting it in high sun and concluding native plants are fussy. The USDA plants database documents Asarum canadense across the eastern United States from the Dakotas to Maine, south to Georgia. Hardy to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, Zone 3. University of Wisconsin. Horticulture Extension documents it as hardier and more vigorous than European Asarum europaeum, with larger leaves and faster spread. It moves by underground rhizomes and ant-based seed dispersal, carrying seeds into nutrient-rich pockets where they germinate. Year 1, slow establishment. Year 2, rhizomes extending. Year 3, a colony forming that continues indefinitely. In zones 7 and 8, full shade and consistent moisture are essential. In zones 3 through 5, cooler temperatures match its native conditions exactly. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Asarum takes 2 seasons to spread, visibly, not a showstopper in a pot in April. A permanent native solution that never needs replacing. 0 repeat sale potential. The correct move: part to full shade, moist organic soil top dressed with leaf compost. The bottom line on Asarum canadense: the correct native solution for cool, moist shade, still expanding quietly a decade from now. Wild ginger solves cool, moist shade with real ecological permanence. But the sunny border needing 5 consecutive months of bloom has its own answer, and most gardeners are still cutting it back at the wrong moment. Plant 7. Nepeta X Fasanii, Walker's Low, catmint, the plant for every sunny border needing 5 consecutive months of bloom. The mistake: leaving it after the first flush or cutting it to the ground. In early June, Walker's Low is the best thing in your garden. Mounding lavender blue spikes 2 feet by 2 feet, covered in bumblebees. Mid-July the flush is done. Leave it and the second flush is thin. Cut it to the ground and it spends 6 weeks recovering. Both wrong. The 2007 Perennial Plant of the Year. The 2012 RHS Award of Garden Merit. Michigan State University Trial Gardens recorded Walker's Low blooming into November in mild fall years. Hardy zones 3 through 8. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Walker's Low is sterile and must be propagated by division, raising production cost and reducing mass market availability. Most gardeners never find it. The correct move: when the first bloom flush finishes in mid-July, cut the plant back by half. Not to the ground. Half. Fresh growth appears within 2 to 3 weeks. Zones 3 through 5, first cut mid-July, second cut early September. The bottom line on Walker's Low: the half cut at first flush is the single most important piece of information catmint growers need, and it is never on the tag. Walker's Low delivers 5 months of bloom in full sun, but its season closes in early fall. The next plant blooms from late spring continuously to hard frost, covers 2 to 3 square feet per season, and holds every award Walker's Low holds. Plant 8. Geranium Roseanne. The longest blooming perennial most gardeners have never planted correctly. The mistake, assuming it performs like every other hardy geranium. Roseanne is biologically distinct. Its flowers are sterile. No seed set means no post-seed dormancy, so it blooms continuously from late spring to hard frost. The 2008 Perennial Plant of the Year. Plant of the Centenary at the RHS Chelsea Flower Show. Michigan State University Trial Gardens documented flowering into November. One plant covers 2 to 3 square feet per season. Hardy zones 5 through 8. In Zone 4, Geranium Brookside delivers the same continuous bloom. You planted a standard hardy geranium. It bloomed 2 weeks, went dormant, sat as foliage until frost. Roseanne produces violet blue flowers with white centers from May until hard frost every year. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Roseanne is patented and propagated only by licensed growers, removing it from mass market availability. The correct move: part sun to full sun, average to moist, well-draining soil, 18 inches apart. In zones 7 and 8, afternoon shade extends bloom through the hottest months. The bottom line on Geranium Roseanne, the closest thing to a perennial that never stops flowering. Late spring to first frost, year after year. Roseanne handles the sunny border from late spring to frost, but every damp area and wet spot is still unsolved. The next plant thrives in exactly that condition, and commercial framing has been costing gardeners money on it every summer. Plant 9, Lysimachia nummularia aurea. Golden creeping Jenny. The solution for wet areas, and the plant most gardeners have been discarding every autumn thinking it is an annual. The Toronto master gardeners document the confusion. Nurseries sell it in annual container combinations, but it is a hardy perennial in zones 4 through 9. Aurea produces chartreuse gold leaves that glow in shade, spreading by stem nodes wherever they contact moist soil, thriving in wet conditions that kill most spreading perennials. Year 1, establishment. Year 2, visible spread. Year 3, full coverage with zero maintenance. You have probably bought it and discarded it each autumn. It was waiting to come back. Virginia note: a 2025 state law effective. January 2027 places this species on Virginia's regulated invasive list. Outside Virginia, appropriate and contained settings, zones 4 through 9. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Selling Aurea as an annual generates a repeat purchase every summer. Selling it as a perennial ends the transaction. The most direct example on this list of commercial framing that serves the retailer at the gardener's expense. The correct move: part shade to full sun in moist to wet soil. Plant it in the ground. Leave it there. The bottom line on Aurea: you have probably already bought it multiple times. Now plant it where it belongs. Aurea solves wet areas and ends a repeat purchase cycle most gardeners did not know they were in, but deep dry shade under a dense canopy is still unsolved. The next plant handles that. Plant 10, Vinca minor illumination, the plant for deep shade where nothing else on this list works. The mistake? Planting plain green Vinca minor and missing the visual impact only the correct cultivar delivers. You plant plain green Vinca on a shaded slope. Year 2, it covers the ground. Year 3, the uniform. Dark green looks institutional. Illumination has golden yellow centers on each leaf with dark green margins. That variegation catches light in deep shade and makes coverage look intentional. Blue-violet flowers in spring. Hardy zones 4 through 9. Virginia note: a 2025 state law effective. January 2027 includes both Vinca major and Vinca minor on Virginia's regulated invasive list. Outside Virginia, in contained settings away from stream corridors, Vinca is appropriate. In Zone 3, Pachysandra procumbens provides similar shade performance. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Plain green Vinca is widely stocked. Illumination requires asking for it by name. Most gardeners grab whatever is on the flat and miss the cultivar. The correct move: part to full shade, average to dry soil, 12 to 18 inches apart. Shear back every 2 to 3 years in early spring to prevent woody centers. The bottom line on illumination: Vinca, the only variegated ground cover that handles deep dry shade, covers a slope permanently, and looks intentional. Illumination handles the deepest shade with real ornamental quality. The last plant on this list blooms for months in deep to part shade with flower color that shade gardens almost never have. Plant 11. Lamium maculatum, White Nancy, Spotted Dead Nettle. The flowering shade ground cover most gardeners have never considered. The mistake: assuming shade means no flowers. You have a shaded bed. Hostas. Ferns. Nothing blooms. From late spring through late summer, White Nancy produces white flower spikes above silver white foliage with narrow green margins. When not in bloom, the silver leaves reflect light and brighten the darkest corner on your property. Hardy zones 3 through 8. The USDA plants database documents this across most of the continental United States and Canada. The cultivar distinction matters. Generic Lamium has smaller flowers, less silver foliage, and slower spread than White Nancy specifically. Year 1, establishment and late summer bloom. Year 2, prolific bloom from late spring through August. Year 3, dividing it into every shaded area, each division free. In Zone 8, partially summer dormant, resumes in September. Zones 3 through 5, active all season. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Lamium divides freely, needs no input, and never requires replacement. 0 repeat sale potential. Small quantities, back of the display. The correct move: part shade to full shade, average moisture well draining soil 12 inches apart. In zones 6 through 8, at least 4 hours of afternoon shade. The bottom line on White Nancy: the only flowering perennial ground cover with zone 3 cold hardiness that blooms for months in true shade, still overlooked in the back corner of most nursery displays. Every plant on this list shares one characteristic. Plant it once in April and it works from that point forward. Expands, comes back, multiplies into free plants, not creeping phlox, candy stripe, not catmint, Walker's Low, not plain Vinca. Illumination. The cultivar is everything, like this video. Subscribe to Feral Garden. Hit the bell. Share this with the gardener who replants every April. Watch the next video on screen. Tell me in the comments where you are gardening and which plant you are putting in the ground first. Hype this so it reaches the next gardener before they waste another spring. Stop buying what dies. Start planting what spreads.